Today on the Legal Tea, we're going to talk about brand ambassadors because we know one of the best ways to get out there and gain visibility is to have an influencer. So I wanted to talk about that from a breach of contract standpoint and talk about contracts and what needs to be in your contracts and what can happen. So that's what we're talking about today. Hey Jasmine, how are you doing? Yes, thank you so much again for joining me and coming here and being a part of this conversation. If you haven't liked the podcast, make sure you like the podcast. You can go to thelegaltea.co and actually pick your favorite channel to listen to podcasts and subscribe. Yeah, right now we are sitting at, I think, 1,400 downloads. And to me, that's absolutely fabulous because, who would have thought that people would be listening to little old me? I guess I kind of thought it. That's why I did it. But I'm just excited. I'm excited that people are picking up what I'm dropping. Anywho, let's move on. So this week, the Legal Tea is talking about, some of these stories are older, but I want to talk about them, especially now in the beginning of the year. People are talking about branding. Thank you. People are talking about branding and gaining more visibility and trying to get their products in the right hands. And they're using influencers, and a lot of times these influencers are people on social media, are celebrities. So I want to talk about that. So the first thing I want to talk about, Samsung, and I heard a couple of stories where people are supposed to be Samsung brand ambassadors and they're tweeting, right? And when you tweet, you see tweet via iPhone, right? Yeah. So apparently Samsung had a contract with an influencer out of Russia for them to only use the Samsung phone. Like they were only allowed to use Samsung phone. And this person was caught using the new iPhone 10, right? So not only did Samsung, terminate the contract, they are suing her. They are suing her for, it was a crazy amount of money. Let me see. I want to say $1.6 million. $1.6 million. I would love to read what that contract says that makes that breach of contract worth $1.6 million, right? So the second instance is from Sarah Jessica Parker, Sex and the City, love it. But she was brought on to collaborate with this business, this jewelry business, and she was supposed to be responsible for wearing the jewelry, promoting the jewelry, coming to a few events, this, that, and the other. So she came to one event, got half her money, or got some of the money, I don't know how much it was. She was supposed to get paid, hers might have been like let's see, do I have how much it was? $5 million. She was supposed to be paid $5 million. She got some of that money, and then she just made herself unavailable. And as a result, the product didn't do as well as expected. So that company is suing Sarah Jessica Parker for breach of contract. And the reason I want to talk about those two things, because like I said, we're at the point where we're trying to gain visibility and get our products in the right hands. But when you're doing that, what I don't want you to do is want to just send your products. You can send your products, but when you do that, do not have any expectations, right? If you want somebody to do something, if you're sending somebody anything, a product, or agreeing to do a service because you want them to promote you in some type of way, put it in writing and don't just make it vague. Don't just say, you are responsible for, wearing this shirt or promoting this shirt on your Instagram. What does that mean? That can be like a picture of the shirt by itself one time. Right? Was that your intent? I don't think that was your intent. I think your intent was to make sure that they mention your product multiple times in a month's period. Maybe interacting, with your product, wearing it, right? Saying how great it was, using it, encouraging other people to do the same. So in your agreement, you want to talk to them about what do you want them to do? How often do you want them to do it? What are the terms? What constitutes a breach of contract? Can they promote your brand and a competing brand at the same time? Is this an exclusive deal? We need to know. This is things that you need to not only discuss, you need to have it in writing because you need to have remedies in case someone breach. A lot of times where I see where people get upset with the brand influencers is because they just weren't clear. It wasn't really clear communication. They had high expectations and they never communicated that, and they didn't communicate it in writing. People think that when people think about contracts, they really only think about contracts as it relates to maybe client agreements. And I say that, but there's so many people out there that aren't even using client agreements when they're out here doing, providing services. They're not using any type of terms of service when they're doing products. They're not doing anything. They don't have any type of written agreement. Cut it out. That's what I'm telling you. Cut it out. Because written agreements, they can be used in a variety of circumstances and situations. They can save your behind, really, when used properly, when drafted. So what I want you to do as you're in business in 2019 is to commit to using written contracts. When you're talking to brand influencers, your speaking engagements, so we talked about brand influencers, but breach of contract is not just for that. You can talk about your speaking engagements. If you are a speaker, and someone wants you to come speak, okay, that's awesome. I'm going to speak. Who's going to own the intellectual property? Like, are they allowed to record it and then sell the recording of your speak, of your talk, your intellectual property? Like, that's kind of things that you want to put into the speaker agreement. How much is it going to cost for them to get you out there? Are you allowed to bring a guest? Are they responsible for buying a certain amount of your products? Are you responsible for coming out there if they don't sell X amount of tickets? Could a non-disclosure agreement be used? Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Sometimes you need to have a non-disclosure agreement. Sometimes people have beta testers, and this is good for people who have, courses too, not just people who are creating like software and stuff, but people who are, creating products and people who have services like courses, and they just want to get someone to run through it so they can work out the kinks. And so you want to have like a beta tester agreement that would include the non-disclosure part and confidentiality part. Jasmine says, great tips. Whoop, thanks, Jasmine. Nikisha says, okay, I have that form. Perfect. And you remember, if you don't need contracts, we do that. Our contracts are specifically geared to making sure that your brand is protected. So if you have content that you're protecting, if you have a brand that you want to protect, or working with someone, reach out to us and one of our attorneys will be able to assist you. You can always go to iprotectbrands.com to learn more about Off the Mark, to learn more about Attorney Murray, to learn more about Attorney Baker and the services that we provide. I really do appreciate it. We'll see you all next Friday. And remember, if you see a story, share a story. Email it to us. Email it to, we don't want you to email it, podcast@thelegaltea.co. That's .co. So email any stories you may see, or if you're following us on social media, just DM that thing to us. We get a lot of DMs with stories, and I really appreciate that when people see these stories, they're like, oh man, I wonder if Attorney Murray has seen this. That makes my heart happy. What else? Rate this. If you have not rated our podcast, would you please go to iTunes and put in the search bar thelegaltea.co and give us a rating and let us know what you think. If you want us to keep this up, give us 5 stars and say, hey, great job. If there's something that you need us to work on, just give us a rating and let us know. Really appreciate that. And then share this out with your friends. That's all I have for you. Use written contracts and have a great weekend.